Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Elevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I'm Joe Everett, bringing you today's farm news. Well, farmers have been taking advantage of the weather over the last couple of days, trying to get some last-minute field work in, but it looks like that's going to change as some weather moves through parts of the Buckeye State. We'll have a full forecast update for you shortly. Well, the USDA is rolling out a major disaster relief effort through its Supplemental Disaster Relief Program, putting roughly $21 billion on the table for farmers impacted by severe weather in 2023 and 24. The funding covers a wide range of losses across multiple commodity sectors. Stage 1 focuses on producers who have already had losses indemnified through crop insurance or the NAP program. USDA says applications will be streamlined with much of the necessary data pre-filled to speed things along. A coming Stage 2 will widen the safety net, covering shallower or uninsured losses for producers who did not receive full compensation the first time around. Officials say the program is designed to avoid overlap with other disaster aid and get support out as efficiently as possible. But despite the size and scope of the effort, some farmers are raising concern about how quickly the money will actually reach them, especially after delays tied to the recent government shutdown. Well, there's a new complex coming to Ohio State's campus. Ty Higgins has the story.
Just weeks before it'll be ready for students of Ohio State's College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences and the general public, Ohio AgNet got a behind-the-scenes look at the new multi-species animal learning complex, otherwise known as MALC. Dr. Graham Cochran is Associate Dean for Operations at the college. He told me more about this $60 million project and the purpose behind its creation.
It starts with some of our students, but also welcoming the public here to have some conversations about what animal agriculture looks like.
As you and I look at the skyline of downtown Columbus and the Horseshoe, what a fantastic location to have those conversations.
The other thing that leads us into, though, is how important it is to expose young people to careers in agriculture. And so that's going to be an important part of what we do here, is getting young people a flavor of all the kinds of neat things you can do in agriculture and animal agriculture.
As you might imagine, when you have multi-species of animals in one location, biosecurity is top of mind. Cochran talks about the processes put in place to make sure the animals at the facility and visitors as well are safe.
We've spent a lot of time thinking very carefully about how we set this up. Putting a swine barn and a poultry barn on the same complex is nothing you would think about doing in industry. But we spent a lot of time, got a lot of input from experts like in the College of Veterinary Medicine, industry experts, developed a pretty robust plan, and developed a lot of measures that are specific to this facility that you wouldn't see somewhere else, but we needed it to make it safe here for people and animals.
Get a glimpse inside this new facility with a video online now at ohioagnet.com and on our YouTube channel. I'm Ty Higgins reporting.
Hey, thanks, Ty, for the update. Stay tuned. We'll be back with today's weather next here on the Ohio AgNet.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
You're tuning in on the Ohio AgNet. Today's weather brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Learn more online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Got some moisture trying to move through Ohio today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Quick forecast update for you here. On again, off again rain showers pretty much through the entire day. Does it amount to much? No. I think in northern parts of Ohio, we're probably looking at a few hundreds to a few tenths. Southern Ohio may see slightly more, closer to half an inch, but you get the idea. There's moisture around through the day. Clouds start to break up overnight tonight, and we're looking at a partly sunny, warm, and pleasant day for tomorrow. Going into Thursday, we start partly sunny and pleasant as well. Clouds increasing Thursday afternoon, then overnight Thursday night through Friday, through Saturday, and into early Sunday morning. We see on again, off again chances of scattered showers. Most of this, in my opinion, is over the southern two-thirds of the state. Right now, I would draw a line at US 30 and say north of US 30 for Thursday night, Friday, Saturday. We probably don't see much of anything but clouds. South of US 30, we can see anywhere from a quarter to to 3/4 of an inch of precipitation. We'll see whether that line holds here in the days ahead, but that's my initial look right now. By the time we get to Sunday, clouds are going to be dissipating, and we should put together a pleasant afternoon. Temperatures holding in here in the wake of that weather system. Next week, Monday is dry. Tuesday, a little bit of cloud cover around, but otherwise mostly dry. We see a few hit-and-miss scattered showers coming overnight Wednesday night into early Thanksgiving morning, mostly over the southern part of the state, but I'll say 40% coverage out of that. Watch for a huge low to come together to our west and north going into the finish of that long holiday weekend, particularly looking at Saturday the 29th with rain followed by some very windy conditions and maybe some cold snow coming across the Great Lakes. Going to be an interesting setup there, but we're definitely seeing a lot colder air take control as we move into the early part of December. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, it's another week without the USDA weekly crop products report, but we do have an update from Ohio's corn and wheat. This update is brought to you by Unleaded 88. Save on fuel with the blue handle. Fill up with Unleaded 88. Discover more at ohiocornandwheat.org. Our own Dale Minyo talks with Tad Nicholson for an update on year-round E15, and they also discuss the delays in production reports. Here's a clip.
Here's why it's important. It's a fix. It's a permanent fix. If we can say we're allowed to sell E15 year-round, this is better than a temporary incentive package that the federal government wants to give farmers because times are bad right now. That's a Band-Aid. A new market is a permanent fix, and that's what we're after, and that's why getting the Congress to get this thing done once and for all is such a high priority. It's the number one priority for Ohio Corn and Wheat.
So let's look at this as we look for farmers into the year. One of the things that we probably don't think about, but the market determines what we plant next year. So we probably need to know what the production number totaled out, what the stocks across the country look like, so that we can decide next year when we're buying inputs. Are we buying inputs for corn, for soybeans? Did we get enough wheat in this fall? Not that we can change it, but we sure want to take care of it. All of those things aren't there. And do you go ahead and buy inputs and just say, hey, I'm going to rotate and we'll just leave it at that?
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. The reports that I'll call them delayed because they're going to get done eventually. It's not at the time that we are used to seeing them when we're starting to make decisions. And like you said, we have to make purchase decisions right now. And this is a difficult thing to do when you're running kind of blind. And so you're right. There's a lack of information. In today's farming, information is everything. It's the most important thing that we've got out there is information to help us make decisions.
To hear more from this conversation between Dale and Tad, you can find it on today's Ohio AgNet podcast at ohioagnet.com or wherever podcasts are found. Well, fertilizer costs could come down after President Trump issued an executive order to remove import duties on potash and ammonium phosphates, DAP and MAP. The American Soybean Association says the president's order will reduce the cost of key fertilizers. ASA President Caleb Ragland recommended the move, among others, at the Senate Judiciary hearing in October.
Remove IEPA tariffs on critical inputs, machinery, and parts, which will immediately lower cost of production for farmers.
IEPA, the 1977 International Economic Emergency Powers Act that Trump has used freely to impose tariffs, is now challenged before the Supreme Court. Ragland argued targeted farm assistance is desperately needed to help offset trade-related losses. Judiciary Chair and Iowa farmer Chuck Grassley earlier won a tariff exemption for potash from Canada.
I also joined some of my colleagues in a letter to Secretary Burgum asking that potash and phosphate be added to the list of critical minerals,
exempting them from the president's broader tariffs. Fertilizers continue to be largely imported from Canada, China, Mexico, and elsewhere. Fertilizer Institute CEO Corey Rosenbusch told senators nitrogen production facilities can cost as much as $10 billion, while a potash or phosphate mine can take 10 years to develop. Well, the USDA's Farm Service Agency has extended the sign-up deadline for the Emergency Livestock Relief Program to November 21st after many ranchers were unable to apply during the county office closures tied to the federal shutdown. The program provides payments to producers facing added feed cost or grazing losses from 2023 through 24 floods and wildfires. FSA Administrator Bill Beam said offices are now open 5 days a week under Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rowland's directive to restore full access to core services. To simplify enrollment, FSA pre-qualified counties where disasters were already verified, allowing eligible producers to apply without submitting additional documentation. Covered livestock include beef and dairy cattle, sheep, llamas, and other grazing animals. Payments are based on supplemental feed costs, offering up to 60% of the 1 month's feed costs for wildlife losses or 3 months for flood impacts. Annual payments are capped at $125,000 with limited exceptions up to $250,000. Well, the Environmental Protection Agency and the United States Army Corps of Engineers on Monday released a new proposed definition of waters of the United States, marking the latest shift in federal water policy after the Supreme Court's narrowing decision in Sackett versus EPA. The proposal would limit Clean Water Act jurisdiction to traditional navigatable waters and wetlands that share continuous surface connection with them. Tributaries would qualify only if they are directly connected to those waters or flow through those other jurisdictional features. The rule also maintains long-standing exclusions, including prior converted cropland, waste treatment systems, and newly clarified exemption for groundwater. Federal officials said the update definition aims to align the rule with the Supreme Court guidance while providing clarity to landowners. A 45-day public comment period will begin once the proposal is published in the Federal Register. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
After years of dedication, Jim and Jody Johnson are retiring and selling their quality farm equipment through Purple Wave's December 30th Ag Auction. Don't miss their 2024 John Deere ExactEmerge 1775 NT Planter and 2019 John Deere S760 Combine. See the equipment yourself during open inspections at Osage, Iowa on Wednesday, December 17th and Monday, December 29th, both from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit purplewave.com for a complete listing. Purple Wave Auction, straight, simple, sold.
It's now time for today's market analysis, which is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets sharply higher to start the week on Monday, and it was a couple of things back to back to back that got the markets excited. Before we go too much farther, let's talk about where we finished. Huge double-digit jump in soybeans. We actually had them up anywhere from 20 to, at one point, we were 30, 32, 33 cents higher in the nearby January. What you definitely saw here was bigger movement in the nearby contracts versus farther out. Corn up several pennies as well, but wheat markets put together a double-digit jump too. That's a market that probably, all things considered, should not have done anything on the day, but it did. So what were the stories that we had to work through on the day? Well, first of all, let's go with the first. There was a little bit of rumor flying around out there that China was in and had purchased beans. The rumors have not been confirmed, but we're hearing as many as maybe 500,000 metric tons. Before you get too wild and crazy optimistic here, remember, China said, or at least the rumors were, that China was going to procure 12 million metric tons of beans yet this year. You put this 500,000 tons together with the 500,000 tons that were signed in and around the Trump-Xi confab, and what are we at? We're at 1 million. They got 11 more million to go. So again, I'm not getting too super excited, but the market definitely needed this kind of news to bounce back after what we saw last Friday after the WASDE. So again, 500,000 metric tons. Rumor was 6 to 10 cargoes. However, here's the kicker. It was mostly for May and June out of the Pacific Northwest. So remember, back when we heard the original story out of the Trump-Xi talks, we were looking at not being able to execute on a full 12 million nearby. This kind of proves that, and it also backs up the fact that Brazilian beans are closer nearby. So this was story number one. We'll get to story number two in the next one.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. December corn, 433 3/4, down a penny. March corn, 446 1/2, down 1 1/2. As we turn to soybeans, January, 1152 1/2, down 4 3/4. March soybeans, 1158 1/4, down a nickel. And December wheat, 541 3/4, down 2 1/2. Now as we look to livestock from yesterday's close, December live cattle, 221.27, up $2.12. February live cattle, 221.77, up $2.25. December lean hogs, 78.57, up 7 cents. February lean hogs, 79.42, up a nickel. January feeder cattle, 326.27, up $5.72. March feeder cattle, 318.55, up $5.20. And December class 3 milk, $16.99, up 14 cents. To stay up to date on all the latest agricultural news, you can find that at ohioagnet.com. Thanks for joining us and have a great morning, everyone. You're listening to the Ohio AgNet.